What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so those of us who remember the relationship between Carmelo Anthony and George Karl, we definitely remember that there's no love lost between the two. And it recently resurfaced yet again. I read from an article from the Bleacher Report, and this article talks about Carmelo in an interview with a podcast, recalling the moment that he first met George Karl as head coach, something that George Karl said was very disrespectful. George Karl responded to this interview when he saw it on social media by reiterating that he felt that Carmelo wasn't that good, and then compared him to a player that most of us would say was good, but not as good as Carmelo. But George Karl says he was better than Carmelo. So the disrespect to Carmelo Anthony continues. All right. So Carmelo Anthony recently appeared on the 7 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast, and Anthony recalled the moment he knew things weren't going to work out, between him and George Karl. This is what he had to say.
Oh, we was going to have issues. The first day he got the job. He got the job a couple days before we played Milwaukee Bucks. So the whole thing was, I'm not coaching no game. My first game I wanted to be against Milwaukee Bucks. Cool. Go back home. They fucked you over there. I know the business. I know the game at the, I really don't know the game when he came to the team. I'm 21 now. All I know, I got a big name coach coming. George Karl, Coach Milwaukee, Coach Seattle, Gary Payton. You know what I mean? All of that. We get to Milwaukee after shoot around, call me to his room and tell me, hey man, look, I think you overrated. Like you have a lot of work.
Yo, that's crazy. First sentence?
Listen. Embarrassing me.
Look at this. Look at this. Nigga don't even want to look at you, B.
Yo. Hey, George Karl, watch your fucking mouth, man. Hey, big No, he started that narrative though, like the defensive narrative. But I'm gonna get to that point. The first shoot around, he come to me and say like, look, man, I think you overrated. We have a lot of work to do. I know I ain't. You know what I mean? I know I got a lot of work. I got a long way to go in this league. But my nigga,
You just got here.
you just got here. Like you ain't asking no questions. I'm like, who's who? What's what? What's going on? What's the vibe? Individual meetings with every player to introduce yourself. You ain't do none of that yet. You called me. Told me I was overrated. Looked at him. All right. So yeah, you remind me of I see your role on this team. You're more like Detlef Schrempf.
Nah, get the fuck
No,
out.
this is word is born. This is a fact.
Nigga said no, bro. Nah.
George Karl reiterated by responding and saying, hey, at Carmelo Anthony, let's not do this. You're telling stories that are 20 years old. Let's move forward. Strength emoji, indicating he's weak. And then he says, and you were overrated, and you wish your game was as efficient as Detlef's. Yeah, he did have a laughing emoji, but I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know if George Karl is 100% serious on this, but Detlef Schrempf was a really good player. He won 6 Man of the Year a couple times, right? But Detlef was never the guy. He was never the man. He was not the player that defenses keyed in on. Never. He was never that guy. But he was good. He was good. He was good with the Dallas Mavericks. He was good with the Pacers. Well, I think that's where he won Six Man of the Year twice. And he was good with the Sonics. And he was, he was from Germany, so he was an international player and he could shoot. He was very good, but he was not Carmelo Anthony from an offensive standpoint. Yes, Carmelo Anthony had a lower field goal percentage, but then again, Carmelo Anthony, played in an era where field goal percentages were lower anyway, and plus he took a lot of mid-range shots, which when you look at it from a statistical standpoint, the mid-range shot is the least efficient shot that you can take. But if you master that motherfucker, if you master the mid-range shot, then it's very, very difficult to stop you as an offensive player. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, that's how I look at it. Like, I think George Karl is out of line, especially if you're just getting there. If you're just getting there, because you fucked that Milwaukee Bucks team up. That could have been, I know 78 still to this day stings from that. He still stings from that because George Karl fucked that team up. Because he's the one that initiated that trade for them to get Gary Payton, which sent Ray Allen to the Sonics, knowing good and goddamn well that Gary Payton was not going to stay in Seattle. And that's why Bucks fans to this day hate George Karl, because he ruined a good thing. So then you go to Denver Nuggets, and then George Karl, to me, George Karl is another one of these overrated coaches, man. I mean, because let me see something right quick, man. Because he's really critical. He's been very critical of Carmelo Anthony over the years. But let's look at George Karl's coaching career. Does he want to call old boy overrated? See, first year as a head coach, 2 years he coached Cleveland, 84, 85, 85, 86. Lost in the first round, didn't qualify for the playoffs next year. 2 years in Golden State, lost in the conference semifinals, didn't qualify for the playoffs. Then, in 91, after a 3-year sabbatical, he went to the Sonics. Coached there from 91 to 98. That's the team he had the most success with. Lost in the conference semifinals, lost in the conference finals, upsetted by Denver in the first round, then lost in the first round again, lost in the NBA Finals, lost in the conference finals, lost in the conference finals. That's the best team he had. Then he went to Milwaukee for 5 seasons, lost in the first round the first 2 years, lost in the conference finals, then missed the playoffs, and then lost in the first round. And then afterward, man, with Denver, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive first round exits. Lost in the conference finals in 2009, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of the next 10 years, George Karl's teams lost in the first round of playoffs. And then missed the playoffs his last 2 years. So, George Karl is not what you would call one of the all-time great coaches from a success standpoint. And he's had some players. Now, they weren't, I'm not saying he should have won a championship, but he's not very successful. He went to 1 NBA Finals. Appeared in, 2 conference finals? So, yeah, who's overrated George Karl? Because I keep hearing about how you're one of the great coaches. He's one of the great coaches. So, yeah, we got to start looking at these coaches the same way we do these players. Since we want to penalize players for not winning championships, why don't we do the same thing for coaches? We should do the same thing for coaches. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. You know what I'm saying? It's not right because the basketball is a team sport. But yet we penalize players for not winning championships. But we don't do the same thing for coaches. We look at their wins and losses, which means something. Absolutely. But Charles Barkley has a high winning percentage for his career. Let me see. George Karl won 58.8% of the games he coached. Let me see. What's Charles Barkley's career winning percentage? All right, so Barkley won 61.3% of the games he played. So that's a higher percentage than George Karl, right? Even though he didn't coach those games, but you see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but why we don't do the same thing with the coaches as we do with the players? Anyway, that's all I got to say about it.